हमना Islamic Kid TV.
Qasse Ambiya. The story of Musa, peace be upon him, ends here. But the stories of the Quran do not end here. In Allah's book, there are still many stories that teach humanity the true meaning of patience, trials, and success. Today we begin a new story. A story that starts with an innocent child and reaches the throne of Egypt. This is the story of Hazrat Yusuf. Peace be upon him. Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, was a special child from the very beginning. His father was Hazrat Yaqub, peace be upon him, a prophet, a guide, and a soft-hearted, loving father. Hazrat Yusuf's mother was Hazrat Rahil, a pure, patient, and righteous woman. But Allah's will was different. Hazrat Rahil passed away at the time of the birth of Binyamin. Silence filled the home. Two small children, Yusuf and Binyamin, were deprived of their mother's shade forever. Hazrat Yaqub's heart was broken. He held both children close to his chest and entrusted their upbringing to Hazrat Rahil's sister, who was also his wife. She raised them with love, as if they were her own children. But a father's heart, once wounded by pain, naturally leans more toward the children who have lost the most. Hazrat Yaqub gave Yusuf and Binyamin more time, more prayers, and more protection. And this slowly began to burn the hearts of the other sons. Hazrat Yusuf was still very young, but his heart was pure, his vision was deep, and his soul was filled with light. One night, Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, saw a strange dream. He saw 11 stars, the sun and the moon, prostrating before him. The next morning he ran to his father, Hazrat Yaqub, peace be upon him, and said with innocence, "My father, I saw in my dream that 11 stars, the sun and the moon, were prostrating to me." Hazrat Yaqub became silent. In his eyes were love and concern. He said to Yusuf, "My son, do not tell this dream to your brothers. Indeed, Satan is a clear enemy to mankind." Hazrat Yaqub understood. This was no ordinary dream. It was a sign from Allah. But where there is love, sometimes jealousy is born. And this is where the greatest trial of Hazrat Yusuf's life begins. Sometimes Allah grants the greatest honor through the most difficult path. Hazrat Yusuf was extremely close to his father. His innocence, his sincerity, and his truthfulness were visible to everyone. But not every heart is the same. Slowly, a question was born in the hearts of some brothers. Why does our father love Yusuf more than us? With time, the question became a thought, and the thought turned into jealousy. Hazrat Yusuf was unaware of all this. He trusted his brothers completely. But Allah's plan is always far greater than human thinking. Sometimes before the greatest elevation comes the greatest test. And here begins the most critical turning point in Hazrat Yusuf's life. A moment where brotherhood would be tested, and an innocent child would be sent on a new journey by Allah's decree. A journey that would later become a lesson of patience, knowledge, and ultimate success. Slowly, jealousy grew stronger in the brothers' hearts. One day, they gathered together and said, "Yusuf and his younger brother are more beloved to our father than us, even though we are strong and help him more." Satan filled their hearts with darker thoughts. One said, "Get Yusuf out of the way." Another said, "No, do not kill him." Finally, they agreed, "We will leave him in a distant place or throw him into a well, so our father's attention will be only on us." But all of this was hidden from Yusuf. He still believed his brothers were his support. The next day, the brothers said to Hazrat Yaqub, "Father, send Yusuf with us to play. We will take full care of him." Hazrat Yaqub's heart became uneasy. He said, "I fear that you may become careless about him." But due to emotional pressure, he finally gave permission. And from here, the life of an innocent child was about to reach a turning point, where his trust would break, but Allah's protection would begin. And this would become one of the greatest examples of divine wisdom. Hazrat Yaqub, peace be upon him, had already given permission. Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, happily left the house with his brothers. He had no doubt in his heart. After all, brothers are brothers. At first, everything seemed normal. They walked together, talked together, even laughed along the way. But as the house faded into the distance, the brothers' voices slowly became quieter. The smiles disappeared from their faces. Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, began to feel that something had changed. He asked softly, "Why are we going so far?" No one answered. After some time, they reached a deserted place. There was an old well there, deep, dark, and silent. Suddenly, the brothers surrounded Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him. He became frightened and said, "My brothers, what are you doing?" But jealousy had already covered their hearts. One of them said, "This is the place where you will stay." Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, began to cry. He reminded them, "I am your brother." But his words had no effect. And then he was thrown into the well. Above him were the voices of his brothers. Below him was darkness. Yet Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, did not fall completely into the water. Inside the well there was a raised ledge, and he sat there. In that darkness, Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, was not alone. Allah was with him. Into his heart came this reassurance: "Do not be afraid. One day you will remind these very people of what they have done." Above, the brothers had completed their plan. Below, an innocent child was learning patience. Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, was inside the well, surrounded by darkness, silence, and the faint sound of water echoing against the walls. He was not afraid. He remembered Allah and whispered in his heart, "Oh my Lord, you alone are my support." At that very moment, a deep calm descended into his heart. Allah made him understand that one day these same brothers would stand before him. Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, would recognize them, but they would not recognize him. Meanwhile, above the well, the brothers took Yusuf's shirt and stained it with the blood of an animal. Then together, they returned home. It was night. Hazrat Yaqub, peace be upon him, was waiting at the door. The brothers cried and said, "Father, Yusuf was eaten by a wolf." But Hazrat Yaqub, peace be upon him, understood everything. He said, "No, this is a story your hearts have made. For me, patience is best, and Allah alone is the one who helps." And near the well, a short while later, a caravan passed by. They lowered a bucket to draw water. When the bucket was pulled up, Hazrat Yusuf, peace be upon him, was inside it. They were astonished and exclaimed, "This is a boy." He was pulled out of the well. And from that moment, Hazrat Yusuf's, peace be upon him, life entered a completely new journey. The caravan traders took Yusuf, alayhi salam, to Egypt and sold him for a very small price. And so, a child who came out of a dark well entered the royal palace of Egypt. The man who bought Yusuf, alayhi salam, was the Aziz of Egypt, a high-ranking official of the state. He said to his wife, "Treat this child with honor. Perhaps he will be useful to us, or maybe we will adopt him as our son." Yusuf, alayhi salam, began living in the palace. Days passed. Years went by. That innocent child slowly grew into a wise and noble young man. Allah granted him beauty, wisdom, and above all, a pure heart and noble character. Whoever saw Yusuf, alayhi salam, was deeply impressed by him. He was truthful in his work, gentle in his speech, and always kept his gaze lowered. The Aziz began to trust him and entrusted the affairs of the palace to him. But when blessings increase, tests also draw near. The Aziz's wife, whom people later called Zuleika, began observing Yusuf, alayhi salam. His beauty, his purity, his silence. A wrong desire slowly entered her heart, and from here begins the most delicate test of Yusuf's, alayhi salam, life. A test where sin would stand before him, and taqwa, God consciousness, would be his answer. One day, the Aziz was not at home. A strange silence filled the palace. Yusuf, alayhi salam, was busy with his work when the Aziz's wife came close to him. She began locking the palace doors. One door, then another, then another. 9 doors, locked one by one. She said, "Now no one can see you." Yusuf, alayhi salam, was alarmed. He immediately said, "I seek refuge in Allah, the Lord who has honored me. I cannot disobey his command." He stepped back, but the woman moved toward him. Yusuf, alayhi salam, ran toward the exit, and as he reached the final door, his shirt was torn from behind. At that very moment, the door opened, and the Aziz stood there. The woman panicked. To save herself, she immediately said, "He tried to harm me." Yusuf, alayhi salam, replied, "No, this is a lie." Now, truth and falsehood stood face to face. At that moment, by Allah's command, a young child who was present there spoke up. If Yusuf's shirt is torn from the front, then he is guilty. But if the shirt is torn from the back, then the woman is lying. Everyone looked at the shirt. It was torn from the back. The truth became clear to all. The Aziz realized that Yusuf, alayhi salam, was innocent. But the matter had already spread through the city. And this very incident would later become the reason for Yusuf's, alayhi salam, imprisonment.